Hello wonderful people, it's Wild here. Today I'll be showing you how to build this honeycomb house complete with its very own apiary. This sweet cottage is both spacious and cozy, so it makes a perfect build for survival or creative. The materials you'll need for this build are on your screen now. You'll need quite a lot of honeycomb for this build, so if you're creating it in survival, I recommend you check out the bee farm in the description down below. Here is the outline for today's build. You can see the house marked in with the concrete, with the front wall being 11 blocks long, and then the apiary and the walkway are marked in with the concrete powder. We'll begin our build by placing in some posts, which are 6 high, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, out of birch logs. So these will go in the corners of this largest rectangle, so 2 at the front, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 2 here. And then I'll also be putting one on the corner between the largest rectangle and this small square. Then I'll have 2 4-high posts at the back. Next we'll use some stone brick and cracked stone brick to connect up all the way around the build here. So we won't be going around the section of the apiary just yet, just around the house. And you can use as much or as little of the cracked stone brick as you'd like. I'll then fill in this wall across here that separates the house from the apiary. And then I'll go around the apiary itself. Next we'll mark in where we've got our windows, that way we can easily build our walls, leaving the right space. So I'm placing 2 windows here in the front, and each of these is spaced 1 block apart. I've got a honey block above, and these are see-through enough that they can be part of the windows, and I'm using white stained glass as they have a softer look which suits this style of build. I then am building 2 high, topping it off with some honey blocks across this 3 wide section on the left side wall. Rotating round to the back, I'm going to line up a 2 high window here with the honey block above, and this should be spaced 1 block away from this birch pillar and line up with the window on the front. Then there's 3 2 high windows along this back section, as well as a 2 high window looking into the apiary. Now that we've got all of our windows marked in, we can switch to some stripped birch logs and start filling in the walls. And I'll be filling this in 1 block above the honey like this. It's important when filling in your walls to keep in mind where the doors are going to go. So as I'm coming up to this section here, I'm going to be leaving a 3 high section for the door, which lines up with this center of the front walkway. Now the reason I'm leaving a 3 high gap is so that we can have the door as well as a decoration block, and I can go and place that in now as we'll be using honeycomb. For the left side wall, I'll be building straight over the back of this window. This provides a kind of bay window type effect. And then I can just fill in the whole rest of the back of the build. For this back section, I'll only be filling up to the height of the pillars. Once again, for this door leading into the apiary, I'll leave a 3 high gap. That way I can place in my honeycomb block. And I'll build all the way up to the height that we have for the rest of the walls on this larger section of the build. Here's how it looks from the front, as well as from above. Now I'm switching to some spruce to begin filling in the floors. So for the floor of the lower level, I'm going to be using some stripped spruce logs, and these have a floorboard texture. I'm going to dig out most of the floor here, but I won't need to dig out the front section over here as I'll be putting in some spruce planks, as well as a little step which will allow us to have our raised doorway. Now I'm going to break up the space a little bit by changing the orientation of my floorboards from one section to the next. Now that that floor's in, I'm going to place in some spruce planks on top of this smaller section of the build. And I can then go around the edge with some spruce stairs. This not only provides the roof for this smaller section, but it'll also be the flooring for the balcony. I'll fill in this little gap as well with some spruce planks, and then I can fill in the attic floor with some spruce slabs. I'll be leaving a little gap here for my ladder. There we go. Now we can start adding in the walls of this attic space. I'll be using some birch planks and connecting all the way around like this, and I'm leaving a little gap here for the walkout. Now that I've connected up, I'm going to be using a white concrete block for some placeholder blocks and start adding in my gables. So I need to leave a little gap here for a window, and then I can start forming a point. There we go, and I'll create the same shape on the other side of the build. Once again, leaving room for a window. I find it easiest to build straight across and then break my window. I'm also going to locate the center of this front wall, so that's here, and place it in a glass plane, as we're going to be having a gable window on the front. I'll then build two either side with my stripped birch logs, and then like we did on the ends of the build, I'll be coming up to a point. Now we can start adding in our honeycomb roof. And before I go ahead and do that, I'll just fill in my windows here with some glass. So we'll be using honeycomb blocks for this roof, starting on the front, building 3 either side of this wall here, and we want to wrap around to connect these 2 roofs. I find it best to work in from either side, and I'm going to be going up 4 layers. So it should look like this from the front. Now we'll work on the back side. And for this we can just build straight across, but I'll be leaving a gap here where we have our door. So it should look like this from the back. Next, some more spruce is going to come in handy to finish off the edging on this roof. So I'll begin with some stairs. And I want to follow up the shape of this roof like this, and you should see the corner of the honeycomb poking up above. And I'll be leaving the center block free here. I'm then extending along my edge along the front, so I line up with this third honeycomb, and I'll do the same along this edge. Coming back up my gable. Coming back down again. And then working my way across. Now I'm going to stop either side of this birch like this and place my stairs upside down here and here, leaving these 2 blocks free. Then we can start finishing off the top of this gable by building up 2 hive with some blocks. Then I'll come out with some spruce stairs and back up. I'll go all the way across the roof with some more spruce slabs. And I'll create the same swooping point on this side. So you can see it creates a nice, smooth, swooping shape. Now we need to sort out the gable on the front of the build here. Like we did on the end gables, we'll work our way up, making sure the corner of the honeycomb pokes above the stairs. But for this roof, I'll just be placing in my spruce planks and a stair and topping it off with a slab, and then using spruce trapdoors to connect it up with the slabs at the back. I'll then run some slabs along in front of these birch planks, and then to finish off the underside of the gable, I'll be using some more stairs. I'll then use some more stairs like this on the other two gables. Here's how the build is looking. It's really starting to come together. Now I can start working on the apiary, and I'm going with a greenhouse sort of design. We'll begin by creating the frame out of some spruce. So you can build 3 high up here with some spruce trapdoors and flip them like this. So you can see I'm placing them in each of these corners. Then I'll come across one with a slab, then a stair, and then 2 more slabs. And I'll do the same thing on each side. Then on this face here, which lines up with the side wall, I'm going to do something similar, except this time I'll come in 2 from either side and place my stair in the center. I'll place an upside down stair off of each of these stairs, and then a right way up one on top of each. And then I'll connect everything with a little X made out of the slabs. Now that our frame is in, we can fill it in with some glass. So I've got white stained glass panes going in each of these flat faces. And because we've got these trapdoors here, they'll all connect up smoothly. To fill in the corner gaps, I'll be using some glass blocks. And I'll also be using these glass blocks to create the roof. Creating little L shapes like this, placing in blocks here, and then filling this in with 2 diagonal blocks. With this build, we're going to start adding some built elements to the interior of the build. So I'll add in my ladder, going up to the 2nd story. And then I'm going to add a small pathway in my apiary here. Then I can put in a scaffolding with a bee nest. Now if you can't get a bee nest, you're welcome to use a beehive. I like the pop of colour a bee nest adds though. And I'll add my spruce door here, and then I'll come upstairs and add one on the inside here. Next I'll come inside the build again, and I'm going to be adding some greenery into our apiary. I'm going to have a flowering azalea here, and then you can use whatever colour flowers you'd like, but I like to stick to a colour palette of yellows, blues and whites, and a little hint of pink as well. Then I've also got some greenery with some grass and ferns. And I like to really pack them in, make it nice and lush for the bees. We're going to be working on some important details now, starting with this front entryway. Now I'm using a mixture of some cobblestone, some stone brick and some cracked stone brick here. And just distributing them like this. And it's important when you're doing this kind of randomization to take a step back every now and then. I've got to put some stairs leading up to the front, and I wanted to distribute my cobblestone evenly. I might even have one more cobble here. Then I'm going to create a little canopy over the top, starting with 2 stone brick walls, building up 2 high with some spruce fences, and then I'm going to be using the campfires, which I'll put out, and they have a great texture and add some interesting dimension to the build like this. We'll be creating a similar campfire canopy round at the back here, as well as putting on our banister. So I'll place stone brick walls in the corners, and then use fence gates to create our railing. Then I'm going to build up 2 high with some spruce fences, and we can use the campfires to create a nice canopy. You want to line these up and connect it all the way up to the roof. It's going to look quite smoky at first, but once we put them all out, the whole look will come together. Now for the shovel. And there's our canopy. I'll also be putting in a spruce fence here and here, and I'll sneak past these gates to add in a little decoration over the door. Just simply a slab and 2 trapdoors. Next we'll be using similar materials to add window decorations all the way around the build. So I'm placing some campfires above each of these windows, and then I'm using some spruce trapdoors to create some window shutters. I've got these 2 like this. I'll skip this one for now, and I'll come round to the back. And I'm only having window shutters on one side of the window, so I'm making sure I'm distributing where I'm placing these window shutters so I can break up the birch texture of the walls a little bit. Next, I will work on the little gable windows, and like we have on the rest of the build, we'll be using campfires above the windows. Now I want to add a little bit of separation between the top and bottom story, and I'll use some spruce trapdoors for this. On this side, because we've got our apiary, I only need 2 trapdoors here and here, and on the other side as well. But on this side of the build, I'm going to use a few more, and I'll place one underneath each of these stairs and then all the way across this birch. While I'm on this side, we need to add some decorations to this bay window. I'll start by placing some spruce slabs on top, and then a stair here, a stair here, and a stair here. And then 2 more slabs. Then I'll place some stone brick walls here, here, and here, followed by some spruce fences. For some more details, I want to add in some hanging lanterns on some chains. The reason we need to use the chains is it lowers it down a little bit, and it also allows us to hang it off of these stairs here. I'm going to place in a lantern on each of these stairs, another one of this gable, as well as one of the gable on the front. And then I'll have a lantern hanging above my door. I'll also creep inside, and I want to place some lanterns here inside the apiary. Now, I think I might drop down a slab here and add a lantern in the center, but you could also place your lighting on the floor, or you could even have some hidden lighting behind some leaves. Next, we want to add some more flowers, because this is a bee house after all. So I'll go in and place some rooted dirt. I've got 2 either side here, one on this side, one here, and then I'll come round and place them on the side like this. I'll surround these with some oak trapdoors. And I'm going to be planting some flowering azaleas in these. I'll use some leaves to make some of the azaleas just a little bit taller. It's finishing details like these that really make a big difference to a build. Now we need to add in a chimney here at the back, and for this I'm using some cracked stone brick, and this will tie in the blocks that we've got here at the foundations of the build. I'm just going to randomize these. I think I might start with a cracked stone brick, as then I'm going to go into some stone brick stairs to create a slight angle in the chimney. And then I'll top it off with a campfire with some billowing smoke and surround that with some trapdoors. I also want to add a nod to bees here on the walkout, and I'm going to create a little bee carpet, just with some black and yellow. So here you can see I've surrounded the honeycomb house with lots of flowers. I've kept to a colour palette of pinks, whites and blues for my flowers, as well as the yellow that plays off the honey colour. I've gone with an overgrown look for the garden, which really works with this whimsical style of build. I hope you enjoy building this honeycomb cottage. If you did, please consider subscribing, and if you would like to support me further, check out my Patreon. I'd really appreciate it. I'll see you in another video.